This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, we refer to ourselves as guides rather than hosts, as we too are learning, traveling, and supporting each other as well on this Reiki journey. And with that said, I am your first guide, Tracy Seawright.
Hi, I am your second guide, Kim Cardiel Early.
Welcome, everyone, to Ready, Set, Reiki. And I have a very special guest today, someone that I met during kid Reiki training. So I was very fortunate to get connected with her, and we had 3 wonderful days of kid Reiki training. And her name is Caroline McLemore. Now, here is a little bit of her Reiki story. It began over a decade ago when she learned about the practice to help animals at a rescue shelter where her husband and her volunteered. Little did she know how that simple decision would profoundly change her life. She connected immediately and deeply with the healing energy and began a quest to learn all she could, and have been fortunate enough to study with several world-renowned master teachers, including the life-changing course with William Lee Rand, who is the founder and president of the International Center of Reiki, ICRT, at the birthplace of Reiki, Mount Corona, Japan. Reiki burst open the doors to her intuitive abilities, provided clarity on a divine purpose and passion, and it is a joy to share this gift through healing sessions and Reiki education, as she is the owner of the Healing Gardens Reiki in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Classes and treatments are held in her beautiful backyard garden or adjacent sunroom, and she offers online instruction as well. She has been published by the Reiki News magazine and is the author of the forthcoming book series, Magic at Moon Lake. The first story, Reiki to the Rescue, introduces children to the concept of Reiki. This ancient healing energy technique promotes relaxation, reduces stress and anxiety, and is a privilege for her to help others and spread the awareness of Reiki's benefits. So welcome, Caroline, to Ready, Set, Reiki.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. I can't wait to talk about my favorite subject.
Wonderful. And that's why I had you on here. I just knew when I connected with you in Kids Reiki that I just had to have you on, and especially when you shared your book with us. So it was so beautiful. But let's first dive into our first question. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. It was interesting listening to my bio. I've never had that read to me before. I've read it myself, but so as you read, I remembered back to all the steps along the way to this point today. But as you said, my name is Caroline McLemore. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, with my husband and our little dog, Leia. We moved here from Minnesota a few years ago, and I am a Reiki master and teacher, and I am an author. One thing you may not know is that I'm also an accountant. I do work full-time as an accounting controller, and so it's been interesting to balance that part of my life with the big, wonderful Reiki part of my life. Another interesting thing about me is that I have an identical twin sister. So that has come up in different ways on this journey as well, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Your sister, is she into Reiki as well?
I did attune her, but she is still working on her confidence with it and trust. And it seems easier for her to ask me to send her Reiki than to give it to herself.
Right.
Which
so she's on
I'm
her
fine
own
with.
journey, right? She
Yeah.
is on her own
Yeah.
journey. Very good. Very good. So our next question is, when did Reiki energy come into your life? Did you find Reiki or did Reiki find you?
All right. I would say I would answer that question as a little bit of both. I believe it was 2012 when I first started hearing about Reiki, and I would see it maybe on Facebook, and it would come up for me in interesting little ways, like a car bumper sticker. I'd see Reiki, and As you mentioned in my bio, I was drawn to it because I wanted to learn it to help the dogs and the other animals that came to the rescue center. They would arrive from high kill shelters and they were often injured and stressed. They had no idea what was going on. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would ever really tell anybody that I was learning Reiki or treat people or teach any of that. My goal was simply to help the animals in a very discreet way, and I knew they wouldn't talk about it. So, so that's how it began. But Reiki had other ideas for me, and I'm very grateful for that. But Reiki was really different in 2012, even though it doesn't seem that long ago. It wasn't commonly known like it is much more so today. And um, my family was deeply religious. They're Lutheran, so they were unsure what to do when they did find out with this information that, what do you mean you're learning Reiki? They didn't trust it. They were concerned, falling to the dark side. uh, but we found our way. We found our way through that. So after uh, what I did first was I did a self-taught study and I'd practice at home and then I started with level 1 and then I went to level 2 and my attunement was distance. It was a distance attunement and I started writing practicing the symbols at home, writing them down. And my husband would look at me sometimes and he'd tell our dogs, "Your mother's a witch." uh, but he knew it was making me happy. So he was very supportive. And after I started practicing on myself, I remember it took about a week for me to feel the energy. So I didn't think that anything was working. But I knew that I was supposed to trust it, and it was very possible that I would never feel anything. But I kept practicing, and then one day it was like my hands turned on. It was such a cool experience. I I thought, oh, okay, this is what it is. And so I was very diligent about doing the self Reiki to get to know the energy. And then I started practicing on friends and family, and they just responded so well. And people started to ask me for it, that I understood then that my journey was going to be going into a different direction. And the the Reiki was just something very precious to me. It was becoming precious to me, and so I wanted to have not a self study, have a study with a Reiki master, an in-person study. And I found a woman locally in town, and she was the wife of a retired Lutheran minister. So I thought, oh, this would be kind of a little um, segue in with my family, just giving them a little bit more of a comfort level. And I loved studying with her. She was very traditional. She did the very traditional attunement with the breath. And she was, I would almost say, stern, but I respected that because I could see that it was sacred to her. But while I was there, she had a bunch of Reiki news magazines, and I saw on some of the covers that was when Holy Fire Reiki was just being discovered and talked about. And I asked her about it, and she shook her head, no, no, because many people felt Reiki isn't broken. It doesn't need to be fixed. It's perfect the way it is. We don't need any of this new stuff. But I could not quiet that holy fire voice. And I came to Michigan. William actually has a home not too far from here, and studied with him master level in 2018. And I very, very much connected with the holy fire energy. And that was another curve that my life took.
Lovely, beautiful, beautiful. And I loved how you shared with our listeners that, your timeline. Everybody thinks as soon as you get that attunement, it's a magic wand and you'll feel something instantaneously. But it took you that week, right? And then it was like, then it turned on. And you cultivated that relationship with the energy.
Hmm.
You kept showing up, you kept practicing. And then once you've got to that point, then the people showed. So what a beautiful journey that is that brought you through that. And we have our backgrounds. It's amazing, what our childhood, we still have, carried with us, especially with religion, as your background is
Hmm.
Lutheran and mine's Episcopalian. So you always
Hmm.
struggle with that of,
Hmm.
is this the right thing? But you just feel called to it. And that's to be of service and love, which is the basis of religion when you think about it, right?
You're exactly right. That's exactly what happened.
Mhm.
I developed a love and a trust, and exactly as you say.
Right, right. And by letting go and just trusting the process, it showed you the path. I love that. I love that. What a beautiful journey. Thank you for sharing that. So, our next question is, what is a common misperception about your work?
Uh, One thing that I have encountered over and over is that people think they can't do Reiki. They think they have to be intuitive or have some special healing heart or um, whatever. But Reiki is for everybody, absolutely everybody. And the beautiful thing is, it does the work itself, and it's so simple and easy to use. And oh, how lucky are we that anybody can access this and share it and spread it?
Right, beautiful. Because no one owns it. No one owns energy, right?
Right.
It's for everyone. Right. Beautiful, beautiful. So, what has been the biggest challenge you have faced in your profession?
Okay. I thought I've thought about that over the years, what the challenges that I've had with Reiki. But what comes to mind is when my mom got pancreatic cancer in 2018. She found out right when I had was leaving for Japan to study there, and she was proud of me for going to Japan because she was the kind of woman who had learned to take some risk and follow her heart too. But she still didn't really know about Reiki. And after she shared her diagnosis with me, I asked her if she would allow me to treat her. And she said, I'll try anything, which was kind of a yes. So I lived in Minnesota at the time, and this home that I live in now is actually her home, which is a part of the story too. But I would travel here from Minnesota and I was able to work here, do my accounting job here. So I would stay about 6 weeks at a time and treat her. And she really began to look forward to the evening sessions. And um, we used the same music every time. We had a same routine, and we did it right before bedtime, and it was such a gentle way to end her day. But the reason that it was a struggle for me was because I wanted to heal her. I was determined to heal her. And so I had to really understand that that wasn't my role and really trust that what needed to be healed would be healed. And I did discover that what was healed was our relationship. We became so close, and what a privilege it was. And in fact, later, right before she passed away in the hospital, as she was fading in and out, and she'd wake up and look at me sometimes and say, "Am I still human?" Oh, anyway, but one of the last words she said was Reiki. She opened her eyes and said Reiki. She wanted to feel that. So what a gift that whole experience was. A challenge, I learned acceptance, and I just gained an even deeper gr- sense of gratitude for the healing energy.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, it just gave me chills. I mean, I'm sorry for the loss of your mother, but what a beautiful journey the two of you went on, and what a wonderful gift you could give her, in those last
Let me tell you the
months and
rest of
days.
that. Let me tell you the rest of that story because things turned if you don't mind, it took an interesting turn. So in traveling, my mother was a nurse administrator at the University of Michigan Hospital, and she retired. And in her retirement, she transformed the backyard, which used to be grass, over probably a decade, into a beautiful garden. And when I would come here to take care of her, I would also have to take care of the garden. I did not know much about gardening, but I developed a love for the garden, and you know, uh, I connected with it, the plants, and as things neared toward the end, um, my mom often wondered what would happen with her garden, and I talked to my husband and I said, "Would you mind if we moved to Michigan?" Because I fell in love with the garden. I couldn't let it go to anyone else, and he agreed, and my mom was so happy. So now I'm able to do Reiki sessions in this beautiful garden, this beautiful sanctuary. I'm able to teach in this lovely sunroom, and I feel all this energy just adds to the sessions and the classes, and I just see the steps that were laid out.
Wow.
So
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. I always recall, William Rand had said that if we had known in advance what we were going to do, we may not have had the courage to do it. So walking this path led you each
hmm
step to where you're supposed to be right now. You know, you've
right.
continued to cultivate the relationship with the Reiki and with the garden, planting
hmm
seeds, right? So look
hmm
at the beautiful things that you are creating and helping and being of service with.
A beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. I
you.
mean, can you ever imagined, when you started your first day as an accountant, that here you would be, Reiki master, right? Of how many systems of Reiki, an author, right? On a
hmm
podcast. I mean, amazing.
Absolutely. That little accounting world in the beginning was just so small, and this world is so big with so many possibilities. It's exciting.
So, our next question is, what is something that you wish your younger self knew about this current profession?
We met in Kid Reiki, right? One of the beautiful things from Kid Reiki is that it connected me to the kid in me. And I remembered how much fun it was to create, to color, to play the piano, to play with Play-Doh, to do all these things. And I remember that little child me spent a lot of time worrying. So, what I wish the little child knew was to have more fun, not worry so much. And I wish that she had known about Reiki or even many of the meditation and other type techniques that are available to kids now, which is absolutely the driving force for the story.
Right. Reiki to the rescue.
Reiki to the rescue.
Reiki to the rescue. When it is time for you to get your energetic tune up, or when you are looking for teachers to guide you through Reiki, what are some of the qualities that you look for in a Reiki practitioner or a Reiki master teacher?
What I love to see in other Reiki practitioners is passion. They have a passion for the Reiki energy. I know that they're connected in the way that they should be. That's best for them. Uh, I also I mentioned my first Reiki teacher who was so traditional. And what I like is when somebody shows a respect for Reiki too. Um, that it is, kind of sacred. So care you take in laying out your bed and making your room and those kind of things. I notice that.
Right.
Makes me
Ceremonial
smile.
space, right? How you're,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Creating your
Yeah.
space. Beautiful, beautiful. So, what advice would you give someone who is just entering this profession?
My advice is to go with the flow and to trust the process. There's a tendency or sometimes when someone is starting out, there's an uncertainty, and it's good to just relax and trust it and not have so many expectations. And like me, I had a lot of expectations. I thought I was going to treat dogs.
Right,
So going with the flow and trusting the process is my best advice for someone starting out.
right, right, right. And just taking that one step, and you never know where that step's going to lead you. You're thinking you're
Mm-hmm.
going in one direction, and it's like, nope, here's a whole new path.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what books do you recommend?
Out books, I books that have helped me on my spiritual journey. One of the first books that I read was Conversations with God. And I really also like Eckhart Tolle or Tolle. I'm not really sure how to say his name, but I think people say it both ways, and I know he's pretty popular. Um, I read a book called The Four Agreements. Have you read that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very simple one and good to remember those four pieces of advice that are offered in that book. And then another book that I read was called The Alchemist.
Yes,
Have you heard of that?
I have. I actually had
Okay,
a student
yeah.
that gave me it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep extra copies of the Four Agreements. I mean, I have probably six here that I can just hand out to
Oh,
somebody,
wonderful, wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So, in your bio, didn't get to share all of the wonderful modalities that you offer. So, can you let us know what modalities do you offer?
Well, I've studied Karuna Reiki, Holy Fire Reiki, Animal Reiki, and Kid Reiki. And I'm actually not offering sessions right now and taking a little bit of a break from teaching because I have many more books planned in the series. So I'm focusing on that. But I will be doing some children's workshops in the garden this summer. And I already have a waiting list. I'm so excited. And it's just
Wonderful.
so fun. I did it last year and uh, it's just uh, a perfect setting for it. And I learned so much from the kids each time. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. So, where can somebody find you? I know you're taking a little break from teaching, but if they
mhm,
listen to this and say, this is my person, this is my teacher,
mhm,
where can
right.
they find you?
hmm My website is healinggardensreiki.com. And I also have a website for my book, which is magicatmoonlake.com. And I'm on Instagram. I share a picture of the garden each day with an affirmation. And I love doing that because it's so good for me to write one in the morning and start my day. Um, and that's pretty much where I'm active. My websites. At the book website, you can sign up if you want release information. Although we know this one will be out April 1st, there's other books planned. And so if you're interested, you can sign up there to keep updated on release dates.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for going on this journey with me and answering the questions for our listeners. I deeply appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm going to pass you over to my wonderful co-guide, Kim, who has 3 social media questions just for you. Kim, the floor is yours.
Excellent. All right. Thank you.
So on top of all that stuff, you're also an author, which is amazing. And it's so crazy how spirit works. And like I said, I am a true believer of like trusting. I have a lot of faith in the universe. I literally will walk off of a mountain and people are like, "Are you nuts?" I'm like, "Spirits got me." I was this first question that I have, I was like, it could not have come at more perfect timing because my kids have a career day at school, right? So I was gonna go, they're in
Mm,
kindergarten and first grade. And I was like, okay, I could talk about Reiki or I could talk about like you do accounting. I run a hair store. I was like, or I could talk about my other job. So I was like, how? I didn't feel that I had the tools to explain it to a 6-year-old, right? So I was like, how can I
mm.
do this without also traumatizing their friends? Like, I'm a witch and this, and so
Exactly.
yeah. So the first question is, and I was like, this is like perfect. Because next year now, because of your books, which now I'm gonna read, in your first story, Reiki to the Rescue, which introduces children to the concepts of Reiki, which is exactly what I was gonna try to do,
Hmm.
but failed. Can you share how I could explain the concept to my 6-year-old, my younger one?
Hmm. When my niece was about that age, she asked me to explain rain to her, where it came from, um, where did it come from? How does it rain? And I took a long time to explain the whole process of evaporation and the recycling. And she's nodding, listening. And then at the end, she said, "All right, but where does rain come from?"
Yeah.
So that experience taught me to keep things really simple
Right.
and relate it to their world.
Mm.
So when I'm talking to a child that young about Reiki, I mean, uh, I know that they're going to get excited about it because they'll be able to know my excitement, see my excitement. But I explain it as a gift, like the sun or the wind or the soil. It's just another gift that we're given. And when I'm receiving Reiki or giving channeling Reiki to a person, what happens to them? I explain it. It's like a battery charging them. It charging you and making you stronger and able to work a little bit better. But the most important thing about Reiki is that it's love. We can't see love, but we can feel it. And Reiki is just another way that we feel love.
That literally, yeah, Reiki is love. Perfect. Okay, so I read that your forthcoming book is going to be released on April 1st. So can you share maybe a little bit of that? Maybe read a little paragraph, give us a little.
Yeah, I have it here.
Okay.
So I thought I'd read maybe a little bit more than a paragraph to just kind of give an idea of how Reiki is addressed. Oh,
Yes,
darn it.
please.
All right. Goodness gracious, I brought the wrong sheets in. Will you mind just one moment while I go get that? Thank you.
Something I would do.
Goodness.
Totally.
So, in this scene, the main character in the story, her name is Shannon. She's 10 years old, and she is learning about Reiki from an enchanted bear called Master Rinji. So, I will read a little bit about one of the lessons that he's sharing with her. Master Rinji began to speak. "I've already told you the history of Reiki," he said, "but I know you still have many questions about what Reiki is and how it works." I leaned back against Sylvie as Master Rinji continued. "Like the sun and water and soil, Reiki is a gift for everyone on Earth. Reiki is a powerful healing energy," he said, "but even though it's strong, it is very gentle and simple to use." Then Master Rinji explained that the ability to connect to Reiki wasn't something learned or taught. Instead, he said it was passed on from a Reiki master to a student, just as Master Yusui had passed on the gift of Reiki to his students. Master Rinji held up his paws in front of his chest and asked us to do the same with our hands, palms facing each other. He asked us to briskly rub our hands together, then slowly move them a few inches apart and back together again, and asked if we could feel the energy between them. After a moment, I could feel my palms become warm and tingly. As I moved my hands back and forth, I noticed it felt like there were little strands of magnetic energy connecting my hands. I looked over at Kira. She smiled at me and nodded. She could feel it too. I watched as she moved her hands to her heart to let the energy flow there. Master Rinchi put his arms back down. What you're feeling is ki, the life force energy found in all things. Reiki is a special kind of ki. Rei means universal. Reiki means universal life force energy. Master Rinchi held up his hands again. Reiki usually travels through the hands of the person connecting the energy to the one receiving it. I looked at my hands. I thought about all that I did with them: drawing, canoeing, petting Anna, making things. I never thought my hands could do something like send out a powerful energy, though. Master Rinji continued. He told us that when Reiki was channeled, it connected our bodies, our minds, our feelings, and it also connected to the energy centers we have inside us and around us. He said it knew right where to go and what to do to help us be healthier and feel better. I was puzzled. We have energy centers, I asked. Master Rinji nodded. All living things have an energy field around them called auras. They look like colorful lights, and some people can see them. He continued, there are also invisible energy centers inside us called chakras. They are like little spinning wheels, each associated with a different color and with a different physical and emotional part of ourselves. He snapped his fingers, and suddenly he was wearing roller skates. My eyes widened in surprise as he rolled around in front of Sylvie as easily as if he were on a paved trail. When wheels spin properly, he said, things work as they should. But if the wheels get stuck or go in the wrong direction, he said, things can become more difficult. Several wheels on Master Rinji's skates stopped. Some moved in reverse and some spun rapidly forward. Master Rinji flailed his arms to try and catch his balance, but his legs gave out from under him and he toppled to the ground. We all laughed at his demonstration. Then he snapped his fingers again and the roller skates disappeared. He stood and brushed off the dirt from his robes and continued. Master Rinji explained that we have 7 main chakras starting at the base of our spine, going up to the top of our head, and that their colors in order were red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple. I thought for a moment, then smiled. So we basically have a spinning rainbow inside of us? I asked. Kira giggled, and Master Rinji nodded, smiling back. Indeed we do, he said. I gave a happy sigh. It sounded very beautiful to me.
I love that. Yeah, that part about the roller skates made me laugh. And I was like, what a great way to explain that about the spinning. I'm like, yes, yes, exactly. Well, thank you. I can tell you I will be definitely using these as tools for career day next year because I will be talking about Reiki and not wigs. So the last question there was, I noticed that you have studied various systems of Reiki. I know most Reiki practitioners, we are attuned to more than one style
Mhm.
of Reiki. Is there a particular system that you find yourself using more in your sessions than others?
Um, well, the what I have been using mostly on myself lately has been the Kid Reiki
Mm,
symbol. I was surprised. Every time I learn a new one, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite. After I learned Karun, after I learned Animal. But I use Kid Reiki on myself. I use Animal Reiki in the garden.
mm.
And I just trust my intuition. The holy fire symbol is always my go-to, but I trust my intuition.
Yeah, I thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to everything that you've had to say to meet you, and your garden is definitely inspiring. It was funny because I also bought my dad's house and I was like, I want a Japanese garden in the back. And this was before I even like became a Reiki practitioner. So when I was looking
Mm,
at your YouTube, there was one YouTube video you posted. It was a video of the garden, but you could hear the birds, and you were like, the garden
right.
in springtime. And I was sitting there and I'm looking at my backyard. I was like, okay, first thing I'm gonna need is like really tall fences so nobody can look in here. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I'm gonna plan it all out. But I just started my front garden and I get that, like just the energy and there was, yeah, anyway, thank you for all the inspiration with the children, with the garden. I love it. Is there anything that you wanted to add that we didn't ask, that we forgot to ask, that you feel that it's important for the listeners to know?
I would like to talk a little bit more about some of the other books that are coming out.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first one, Nearest and Dearest to My Heart, Reiki to the Rescue, is as you said, it introduces the concepts of Reiki to children, but there's so many tools for children to help them in their lives with stress and balance and confidence and like I said before, making the world a little bit bigger. The second one is called The Lost Crystals of Moon Lake, and it's a one of the characters loses her crystals, and as they go through the forest, they realize that the person who found them or the character who found them needed them. So they learn about what each of the crystals can help you with. The third one, The Legend of Goldeneye, will talk about spirit animals and maybe drawing out a bee if you have a lot of things to do, or a bear if you need courage, things like that. But it's still told in a story format. The adventures that Goldeneye, the little duck, has. The fourth one is Estrella and the War of the Fairies, and that takes place in Grandma's garden. And it will talk about herbs and flowers and how they can help us. And the last one is The Travels of Tala, and that's about a magical wolf and her travels from star to star. She's a character in this first book. So
Your books are just really setting up these younger generations. You got it all covered. The spirit animals, the and like you're like you and just in a way that you're explaining so that it's not, it's simple. Like you said, you got to keep it simple. But I just love that. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
I'm so excited. I should mention that the inspiration for the books is my daughter, my own daughter, who's named Shannon. She's a grown up now, but a lot of the little things that happen to Shannon, the character, were part of our adventures too. And so it's a gift of love in more ways than one.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I
Thank you
really
so
enjoyed
much.
being the co-guide on this adventure. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Tracy. And yeah, thank you so much. It was so nice meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kim, for going along on this journey with me. And thank you, Caroline, as well, for joining our Ready, Set, Reiki journey. It was really an honor to have you on.
It was an honor to be invited. Thank you. And thank you for all that you both do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Make sure you go out April 1st, Reiki to the Rescue. Get that book, order it, add more books to your wonderful bookshelf here. So every time our guests come on, I ask them this question, and my bookcase is getting kind of full. But it's all a good thing. All right. So my friends, thank you, my listeners. If you are interested in having your question featured on our show, just reach out to us at www.readysetreiki.com or social media. And maybe one of your questions can be featured and asked of our guests. And reach out to us at www.thefeathersister.com to check out different yoga trainings, yoga, meditation, Reiki, and Reiki trainings. So I'm Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.